Thank you to the Vice President for your leadership in establishing this task force and for gathering us all here today. And I have some personal behind-the-scenes experience with talking to the Vice President and seeing how resolutely determined he was at the very first exposure of some of these shocking discoveries to create, establish, and launch this task force. And if you knew what I knew about the people at this table, you would understand just how committed this government, this administration is to ending this massive theft of American taxpayer dollars. The people at this table are all united in absolute determination to stop this plague of fraud, criminality, and abuse. I think what's important for Americans to understand about how pervasive and widespread the fraud is that all of our systems were set up and established for a high-trust society. I think that most citizens probably assume that there's some verification process that takes place for the receipt of most federal benefits. The reality is that there is not. This is particularly true in blue states, willfully true in blue states, in which all of these programs are operated entirely on the honor system. No verification takes place before individuals are enrolled in or receive these benefits. So as a simple example, if you're a Somali refugee living in Minnesota, you could lie about how many children you have. You could lie about what your immigration status is. You could lie about your marital status. You could lie about child care. You could lie about disability. You could lie about all these things and many more. And nobody in the state of Minnesota would validate any of these facts before writing you a check. We at the federal government are simply sent a bill from the state of Minnesota for the cost of providing these services in the aggregate. So to take the food stamp program as an example, SNAP, and that of course is administered by Secretary Rollins, we do not know the names of any SNAP recipient in the state of Minnesota. We just get a blank check. We have asked the state repeatedly and tried to compel the state unsuccessfully to turn over their SNAP enrollment rolls so we could ascertain such basic facts as, are these people even legally eligible to receive these benefits? And the state has refused, absolutely categorically refused. And in fact, the state has spent millions of dollars in court for the singular purpose of trying to prevent the state from ascertaining the identity of a single SNAP recipient in the entire state of Minnesota. Think about what this does to public trust, social trust, people's faith in the system, right? Imagine in a community, a working class community in the Twin Cities, say a native Minnesotan who works as a lineman or works as a construction worker, works in any job that requires hard work, dedication, focus, who's worried about his ability to support for and provide his family. And then imagine that he has a neighbor who's a Somali refugee who arrived 2 years ago and has a Mercedes and no financial stress and no worries at all in the entire world and never seems to ever go to work at all because he just went to an office in the state, lied on a piece of paper, and got unlimited free money forever for life. That is the system that is being run, and that is the corruption that this task force, under the leadership of the Vice President, is going to demolish. And I'll just conclude by saying that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the atrocity that is taking place in Congress with congressional Democrats fighting relentlessly to abolish the very federal agencies that are responsible for policing and investigating fraud as well as all matters of homeland and national security. I see, of course, a new secretary who has just been confirmed to DHS, my good friend, Mark Wayne Mullen. He now takes command of a department whose men and women have been working without pay for weeks on end to protect and defend the American people, to protect and defend our coastlines, to protect and defend our families. Well, they've been treated with nothing but derision, hatred, and contempt by congressional Democrats. It is legislative terrorism. It is one of the greatest abominations that has ever occurred in the history of this country, and it's to the everlasting and eternal shame of the Democrat Party. Again, thank you, Mr. Vice President, for your leadership and vision in establishing this task force. I'm proud to serve on and under your leadership. Thank you.